The media in this town love to talk about democracy. Everything's an attack on it. It's under threat. It's going away. In a sense, they're right, but not for the right reasons. For them, it's when they're usually talking about things that are bad for Democrats or are about Trump. They always fail to miss the actual picture. What does it look like for democracies that are in trouble? One of the first and important signs of one that is not doing well is a permanent elected class which does not respond to the wants of a dynamic populace. Sound familiar? It should, especially after this week, when the world really got to see how robust our democracy is. Our 81-year-old Senate Minority Leader, one of the most powerful people in the entire country, freezes for 20 seconds on camera during a medical event, brushes it off, refuses to tell the public what the issue was, didn't even commit to stepping down. 24 hours later, the 91-year-old senior senator from California, Dianne Feinstein, literally had to be scolded by her colleagues to, quote, just vote aye when she got confused as to where she was. If you haven't seen it, take a listen.
Senator Feinstein.
Say aye.
Pardon me?
Aye.
Yeah.
To say.
I would like to support a yes vote on this. It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense. And it funds priorities submitted.
Yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just
Great,
aye.
Thank you.
Presiding over that system is our 81-year-old president, running for re-election, who is now forced to use the tiny stairs on Air Force One to avoid tripping and falling, because at his age, he could actually die. When I say our democracy is dying, I almost mean it quite literally, considering that an actuarial table tells us one of these three individuals has a very high chance of dropping dead from natural causes in just the next 12 months. With the real problem with our gerontocracy is not just those three individuals, it's the dying system that they represent. Our current Congress is the third oldest Congress since the Founding Fathers convened in 1789. The issue that we have, as you can see from the graphic in front of you, is not the 6% of the Congress that is currently in the silent generation, but to put it kindly, they're not exactly long for this world. The issue is the aging baby boomers that make up almost 50% of Congress that are fully internalized into this modern system where competitive primaries are basically dead, social norms no longer force people to retire through any sense of duty to the public. And as you can see in front of you, the median age of Congress right now in both chambers is at an all-time high. It's crazy to consider this, but there was a time in the early 80s where the median age of a senator was mid-50s. The median age of a representative in the House was in the 40s. What happened? Well, they stayed. They refused to step down, not only from leadership, but from their general seats. They've enjoyed the perks of office, nice fat stock market returns. They have taxpayer-funded staffs that do everything for them. As the graphic in front of you here shows you, there have been two major breaking points in the history of the country from normalizing old people in Congress. The first time that the percentage of people over the age of 70 spiked above 10% was 1946. That time period in Congress is very significant because it came upon the tail end of the absolute power that the South had built up through Jim Crow. Effectively, the way that it worked at that time was that Southern states became uniparty political machines. They sent the same man to Congress year after year, very few competitive primaries, and it enabled them both to stay until they died, but also because they amassed immense power through the seniority system. The entire Congress at that time ran only on senior privilege, where the chairman of the most powerful committees was not decided by party bosses, but entirely through how long you've been in office. So for those who have read one of my favorite books, Master of the Senate, you know that it took a singular force in American history to change all of that. Lyndon B Johnson somehow slowly wrestled power away from the geriatric Southerners, slowly chipped away at the seniority system, and culminated eventually in the destruction of Jim Crow under his presidency and the Voting Rights Act. And wouldn't you know it, destroying the voting hold of power on Jim Crow overnight destroyed the percentage of people in the Senate over 70. The previous high of people over 70 was 11% in 1958. That fell to a near all-time low, 4% in 1981. But as with all political changes, the new guard seems a lot like the old guard. Slowly but surely, the Reagan Revolution turned into the Reagan establishment. Between 1981 and the early 1990s, suddenly we are right back to almost where we started. It was exactly during this period that some of the worst offenders in our politics entered the chamber. Mitch McConnell, 89-year-old Chuck Grassley, Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, 86-year-old Representative Napolitano in the House, many, many more. After 2004, we were truly off to the races. We broke the all-time record of 11%, skyrocketed higher and higher every year since. We now stand at a stunning 25% of the entire chamber over the age of 70. Little chance of change anytime soon. Take the Senate, for example. The two people who were standing behind Mitch McConnell during his health episode to potentially take his place, Senator John Thune and Senator John Cornyn. Cornyn, he's already 71. Thune, I guess he's a spring chicken. He's 62 years old. On the other side of the aisle, Schumer is one of the youngest, most powerful people in Washington. He's 72. His number two, Dick Durbin, he's 78. We have an epidemic in Congress of not only extraordinarily old and infirm people hanging on at the top, but really of the median senator being much closer to nursing home age than at any time in modern history. No internal dynamics that force these people from office. Unfortunately, as we have all seen, public shame, it's not enough to get someone like Feinstein, who, look, at this point, fully has lost her mind, to step down. Shame doesn't work on people with that much ego and from a machine state like California. There's really only one solution. You need an age limit for all federal bureaucrats and elected representatives. Call me ageist if you want, I don't care. In my opinion, if you're a day older 75, you gotta go. Just walk. Don't take it from me. Take it from Chuck Hagel. He's actually a former U.S. Senator. When he was asked about this, he's currently age 77. He said, quote, "It's heartbreaking, embarrassing, but it's up to the individual to come to grips with the reality." He's a former Nebraska Senator who left office in 2009. The reality is, quote, "We are not going backwards. We are all getting older. At 77 versus 62 when I left the Senate. I have pains now I didn't even know that I should have." Take it from him. That's the thing, Crystal. I mean, that quote really does say it.
Hey guys, obviously I had a lot of thoughts on what Saagar had to say there. So if you want to see my thoughts on this monologue and every other Saagar monologue, make sure you subscribe at breakingpoints.com.